Hi, welcome to this Kickstarter preview video for Ceres, the latest game from RTPI Games, a game about sci-fi exploration, space exploration and space mining. Players assume the role after terraforming Mars of big space corporations trying to exploit all the rich resources and mining essentially the asteroid belt for its riches. Essentially they are launching from various launch pads on Ceres, the settlement, and they're trying to take advantage of the rich asteroid belt zone with all the resources that are there for advanced ceramics, for ice, for different energy that they can get out of the asteroid belt, of course also ore, and make it and convert it into alloy. So what the game is all about, make no mistake, this is a sci-fi Euro game done right. I can see it easily competing next year, once published of course, for among the best games of the year, for the best game of the year. This is a great design from a designer I haven't heard myself before, but I was really happy and intrigued to discover all the nice and slick design tweaks that he has embedded into the core of the game. This is a game where you can have different worker types, different workers that are used from a common pool, and this is another cool thing about the design of the game. All these workers, essentially, what they do is they provide a very big pool of options for the players, but the options only start to get more and more for the player, because you also have your outstations, which are essentially cards that you can use by assigning specific workers so that you can activate them for their abilities and their actions. So you start with quite a big amount of actions and options, and then you only expand it moving forward. So the game plays over 3 rounds, and each round has 4 phases. Essentially the first phase manipulates the asteroid belt, and this is another tweak and really cool thing about the game, because it's full of riches from asteroids, and players are trying to launch probes so that they can mine and increase their income from the various places of the asteroid belt. But in the first phase, the asteroid belt has 3 rings, and the rings rotate so that some get closer to the base of launch from Ceres, so players can reach them easier. Of course, they can pay more fuel in terms of ice, so they can go further away. And this really gives a lot of dynamic in the opportunities and in the income that the players can build so that they can boost their engine. Then the next option is really how far they can go with all the things that they can select, either from sending the leader pawns, they have 5 on the different locations on the board for pure worker placement, or they can use up to 4 different types of workers anytime they want, as long as there are available specialized workers from the common pool shared among all players, to put them on their own outstation, essentially their own cards, and activate their facilities. The facilities can also be upgraded, so they can have a card underneath, so each time you send a specialized worker on top, it activates both the primary and the secondary facility. Also you can pay according to the facility's ability to get something more out of it in most of the cases. And all this build a lot of opportunities and a lot of things into the game. So the game thrives as a really solid worker placement, a Euro game, a sci-fi Euro game, but done right, because all the aspects of the game really click together, work really smooth, and give a tremendous gameplay experience. I have an excellent time with the game. I'm only my only complaint is that I didn't have any rules for the solo, but I hear the solo automa is being developed and it's almost finished, so it's going to be available in the Kickstarter campaign as part of the game itself, so that's really good. So you can play also solo versus an automa, but the 2-player, the 3-player and the 4-player is really well done. Now let's move into explaining all the aspects of the game. I'm going to be very methodic. I'm going to put as usual hyperlinks for timestamps for quick jump according to the sections of the rules, so they can go faster or slower to specific parts of the video and explore what it's interesting for you. Or you can follow it from the beginning, and then I'm going to come back at the end of this video for a final wrap-up about my impressions from the sessions I had so far from Ceres. And spoiler alert, I enjoyed really much. I'm just thinking that if this was released in 2022, I could easily see it among the top games I have played this year, and I'm really looking forward to compare it with all the other games that are going to come in 2023, but it's already has a heads up and it's already competing among the best. I think it's really well designed, and definitely you deserve to check it out. So let's see how it works. So welcome to this preview video for Ceres, the brand new game from Artipia Games and Gustav Sandstrom, a great Euro game with clever ideas, new fancy things for us to try, an amazing rotating board and many more. I'm really impressed, so I'm just not going to spend any more time, just to get you through the scene of the game and where it's set, and then let's move to the instruction of the video, go through all the rules on how you play Ceres. Then I'm going to come back again at the end of this video for more information. So, hi, welcome to Ceres. Welcome to the colony of Ceres, and here is what you find on this distant cold piece of rock. Space mining corporations that are constantly competing for exploitation of resources, as you would expect. As the head of one of these corporations, you will develop your corporation, mine the asteroid belt, complete the various research programs and trade resources, with large cargo spacecrafts arriving from afar. But you cannot neglect the settlement itself. You have to gain influence in the Mars Council and contribute to the evolving colony in order to learn your place among the respected leaders and become one of them. Your goal is to establish the most prosperous corporation on the dwarf planet of Ceres within 3 years, which are represented by 3 rounds of the game. Don't mind the glare on the bottom right side of the board. Again, this is a prototype. It's a great looking prototype, but still is a prototype. I have a concrete information that there's not going to be a glossy board game for Ceres, and this is a great addition because it's a huge board, so you couldn't avoid having glare from various corners. There's not going to be any glossy board. It's going to be, I suppose, matte and linen finish. Let's see. So that's you can ignore. At least I try to contain it on the bottom right of my screen. So let's move the box aside. By the way, what a beautiful cover. I find myself looking at the cover for minutes and staring at the gorgeous art, but then again I stop because I want to play again the game. So let's move to familiarize ourselves with the components of the game. First of all, we have the game board. I'm suspecting that this is going to be the way that it's going to be produced in the final production copy of the game. It came in 6 pieces, in 3 pieces. This is 1 piece folded in 2. This is a 2nd piece, and this is the 3rd piece. It's a huge board, as you can see, but I also really like the fact that it's not a square board, or it has various slots, and of course it has this amazing asteroid belt which actually rotates, and this is exactly as you would expect, both from science, but also it helps a lot with the mechanics of the game. I'm really far away in order to maybe to be able to fit everything in the screen, so this is huge board. It really captures all of my table as you see it in front of you. So the game board is this what you see. It has various spots and slots around the board where it's like the construction yard with various outposts and different facilities that you're going to try to get advantage of. You have various projects here that they come with the docking bay, with the docking ships, and the various other opportunities for trading. You have the research programs, you have the contractors association. This is where you put your probes for mining once constructed in order to launch them and place them on the various parts of the rotating asteroid belt. This is the living quarters and the turn order, of course. Of course, here you also have the MASC Council, which is actually something that you need to keep in mind and be mindful of, because it can give you the opportunity to make various actions and also give you a lot of different options and flexibility. And of course, you also have the player components. I'm putting them aside, which I'm going to focus again in more detail in a bit, but this is also quite a big player board. This is the resources board. On the left, you click another board, which is your corporate HQ, I have it placed like that on the side so it's visible. So here you're going to count the different resources on this board, and here you're going to have your corporate HQ with a space for a leader placement / worker placement, which is the same for using these options here. And also you can find that you have the play rate, which has useful information for traversing zones and going further away on launching your probes on the left. So this is going to be all the 3 pieces of a player. And on top of here, you're going to place your starting facilities. And of course, you're going to expand them with more facilities as you buy them from the construction yard or you upgrade them. So again, all this I'm going to highlight in more detail in a bit. I put them on the side just for convenience. For the moment, I'm going to come back to them. You see that the player colors are, if they stay the same in the final production, because again, this is a prototype, you have orange, white, purple, and yellow. And here's the scoring marker. You put one here for the scoring marker, the victory points, and one here for the turn order, which changes over the course of the game. When players pass, they're going to switch and move higher on the turn order for the next round. Again, we're playing 3 rounds, and it may sound that it's not a lot, but I'm telling you, it's quite hefty and satisfying round, because you have to do, you can do a lot of things, because during your turn, as I'm going to explain, you're going to be placing either specialized workers, which I'm going to cover in a bit, or your own leader pawns, those 5 circular discs, which I'm expecting that they may be upgraded. I don't know, most probably going to be upgraded from Kickstarter campaign if stretch goals are reached, for sure. I would expect that they're going to be reached, but you're going to have a variety of different specialized workers for those spots to activate them, or the leaders for your spots to activate them, or those specialized workers for the facilities, either your starting ones or the new ones acquired in order to activate. For example, this one needs specifically a green specialized worker, which we're going to say what it stands for, or this one a blue one, gray and red, etc. So we have the facility deck. I put it here for convenience. There are quite a few cards that they fill these 6 slots over here, and you also have, I placed some project cards on this display coming from this deck over here. We have also credits in denominations of 1, 2 and 5. That essentially is the money of the game. We have 4 docking tiles, at least in the prototype. Maybe more are unlocked during the Kickstarter campaign. And also I know by some inside information from pictures shared from the publisher that the art is going to be massively improved. Again, there's going to be a lot of, the art looks already amazing, but I've seen the updated art and it's even better, so be prepared for even better details and highlights. So you have those tiles which are docking spacecrafts coming, bringing more specialized workers and opportunities for trade, either buying or selling your resources. Also different projects for players to fulfill and get victory points. And you're going to be using 3, 1 for each round. So for the first round of the game, this is already docked on Ceres. And here you can see there is the second one and the third one waiting to be docked for the second and third round in the row. Last but not least, we have the favor tokens that are placed here. I'm going to explain them during setup. And these are research tokens that they progress along these rows, which is the different level 1, level 2 and level 3 advanced research, which give ongoing abilities and opportunities to players who have developed their research programs. So let's start now with some basic symbols, and then we're going to move forward. So we have 4 resources in the game. We have the ore, which has this symbol, and you see here, and we have also ice, which has this symbol. We have credits. These are the credits of the game. These are not considered one of the 4 resources. The next resource is advanced ceramics, which is this one. And the last one is energy, which is here. So all of the resources of the players are tracked on this resource board. Each player has one of those. They start with one token on each of those 4 resources at 0 space. So as you're getting more ice, you move the ice token up. Again, this is prototype, this is the ore, this is the energy, and these are the advanced ceramics. You track your resource board, your resources on the board. You can go all the way up to 12, and when you spend resources, you reduce the respective marker of that type of resource by the amount you spent in order to buy or do different things. Credits are kept on your player aid or your HQ, I think on your player aid if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, nearby, it doesn't matter. You don't have slots and capacity limits for those, and these are again in denominations 1, 2, and 3. Another important symbol to understand in the game is the manufactured products. We have 2 different manufactured products. The first one is alloy, which comes in these tokens. And you need alloy because you want it in order to construct facilities and improve the status of Ceres overall, with all these facilities that are going to be purchased and installed on the personal area from the players. And these are the alloy tokens. And you also have the probes. The probes they have a generic icon, but they come to indicate probes overall in the game. So they show a probe with a black icon. But this is a probe, this is the alloy symbol, and this is a probe symbol. But keep in mind that your probes are custom probes, custom wooden meeples that you're going to construct, manufacture, place them there on the launch complex once ready, and from there you'll be able to launch them on various locations from those 2 zones, and then traverse spending ice if you want to go further. It's going to make more sense later on, but that's what you need to know for the moment. You have facilities over here, and they are color coded. You have gray facilities, which are mine facilities, green facilities, which are office facilities, blue facilities, which are factory facilities, and red facilities, which are lab facilities. Of course, you have also together the specialized workers, matching those colors again. For the office, the blue ones, you have the managing director. For the mines, you have the mine overseer. For the the managing director is the green one. So the blue one is the chief engineering, which goes on the factories, which are the blue one. So managing director, chief engineering on the blue ones, and then you have the scientific coordinator that goes on the lab. So as you can see, it's easy to tell, color coded. You have the symbols on the top of the facility, and the whole border matches the color of these cards. I'm setting them aside just so that you see them for their colors or what they are, but of course it's easy to tell apart from both the symbol and the color of the card. Then we have various locations on the board, and they are all depicted both by the name but also an icon. So this is a launch complex which has this icon. This is the Contractors Association, which has this icon. This is the construction yard with this icon. You also have the docking bay over here with this icon. And you have, in addition, the living quarters over there with that icon. And last but not least, you have the AMAC Council, the Mars Council, with this icon over here. Then you have 8 action types, and they are also called coded by symbol. It's easy to tell apart, and they're used on various either cards, facility cards, or the research tracks or whatever. But just to show you a few so that you get the idea, this symbol with the rocket launching, of course, is a launch icon. You also have it here where you launch from. You have, in addition, the construct yard action, which has this symbol or that symbol. It's a crane. You have the undertake project action, which has this icon over here. You have the develop research project program action over here with this icon, so you can progress on those 3 tracks. You have the get favor action, which has 2 people giving a handshake where you get a favor. These are the favor tokens. You also have the docking bay action, which is this one over here, and it's linked with either the trading opportunities of the docking shuttle or the project they bring us ideas for them to be fulfilled and constructed from the players. You also have the manufacture product action, which is this icon over here. Essentially, it allows you to manufacture either alloy from ore or mining probes, as we have seen. And I think I have covered all of them. You also have one last, which is this one, which shows a worker with an arrow, which is the reassign worker action. There are various places that you can see those, because you can either gain them from facilities, those actions, or from locations. So that's why I went all around to show you the symbols. Last but not least, you can see that, for example, this symbol stands for the credit. These symbols are worker placement, leader placement spots for your leaders from the various players. They go on these spots. I think there may be some different icon in the latest version, but anyway, it's similar. So these are those slots over here, which they can facilitate only leader pawns like this, not specialized workers. Then you have victory points that you can get either from facilities you construct or from projects you undertake, again, or from when launching the various mining probes on the asteroid belt. They are stars with a number, numerical value, and this stands for the victory points you get immediately. Of course, you have influence, which stands for the white cube symbol here, or you can have, for example, the worker spot, the worker symbol, which is this one. So anyway, these are all the symbols that you have in the game. Now, due to the big amount of available actions you have during the game, the publisher has decided to begin the explanation of the rulebook, and I'm going to follow the same format by going through the very basic core concepts and then going into the more details about the actions themselves and the various steps. So let's start with the same approach, because I think it makes more sense, and let's continue with the component anatomy. First of all, we have facility cards and outstations. If you look at Ceres from afar, you can spot numerous small patches of flickering lights spread all over its surface. Clustered together in remote areas are to be found the facilities of each space mining corporation, the so-called outstations. So these are the main force, the backbone of the corporations. We have the outstations, as they call. They have different information to be expected. For example, here on the top left of the card, you can see the facility cost. So in order to establish this facility and construct it, you need to pay, for example, one advanced ceramics and one alloy for this one. All of them demand alloy. It's just that some of them have additional costs, usually in advanced ceramics, and it varies in the number. You have the facility type, as you can see here by the symbol. Again, this is linked with factory and manufacturing. Here you have, and also it's color coded, it's blue, green, gray, or red, as we have seen. Here is the facilities production. During production, you will be receiving this together with any production you have from your launched mines on the asteroid belt. Here you have the name of the card. This is Heavy Factory. You also have the victory points that you can see here. These are the facility victory points that you get. You have also the various facilities functions. Here is a setup where I have upgraded one of the facilities, the blue one, with the red one. So the red one goes beneath and it creates an upgrade for this facility. The main facility is always the one on top, and already you can see from your starting facilities you have the different functions, the one on the top and the one on the bottom. But you can also replicate this approach when you do install additional outposts. You have cards next to your player area, and then as a single card, and then when you upgrade them, you put another card beneath them. So you have the primary main facility function and the secondary facility function, and by assigning one worker here, you can do both, starting from the one on the top and going to the one on the bottom. And this is a plus of upgrading your facilities. Also, you have, again, the various symbols. Here you can get one alloy and perform this action as a secondary function. But bear in mind that some functions, like this one on the top, may have a cost. this has a facility activation cost. So not only you need to send a blue worker here, but you need to pay 2 credit in order to activate it and get 1 alloy. The secondary facility function does not have an activation cost. And it all goes together with one placement. Facility cards are buildings essentially that players can construct to expand their corporations, and every facility card comes with a function. A facilities function may provide the player with resources, which are either ice, advanced ceramics, or an energy, or credits, or influence, or victory points, and specific actions. All these are benefits of the facilities and the outstations, as they're called. The rulebook comes with a detailed description of each of the action symbols that can be found all the facilities functions for easy reference. And keep in mind that some functions of the facilities contain a frame with a darker background, and an activation cost on its top left corner, as I indicated, is expected when you activate it. So before performing this specific part of the facility function, the activation cost must be paid. Of course, if you don't want to do it or if you don't have the money, you can move and do the second one, but you have to take it from the top to the bottom and finish with each facilities function to proceed to the next one. If you have either the starting facilities, which have both primary and secondary functions, or if you have upgraded some of your outstations with an additional function beneath it, which is the maximum, by the way. They cannot get a third one. So when a player constructs a facility, placing it near his or her corporation board, separated from the other facility cards, but still visible, it is considered an outstation. An outstation may feature just one main facility, as I mentioned, or in the case of an upgraded outstation, a main facility, the top card, along with a secondary facility, the bottom card, as I have explained. Facility cards are divided into 4 facility types, and each facility type requires a worker of a different specialization to be placed on the card in order to run its day-to-day operations to be activated. So let's again see quickly. I moved to the display area at the construction yard, but imagine these are constructed in your play area. So you have again the mine with the mine overseer, which is the gray one. You have the green, which is the office with the managing director. You have the blue, which is the factory with the chief engineering. And finally, you have the lab, which is red, with the scientific coordinator. For this card, once it's constructed and next to your player board, to be activated, you need to place on top of it one specialized standing worker, in this case a managing director, in order to perform the action, the function described. Okay, or in this one, if I had this one, I need to place this one in order to perform that function. These outstations are in addition to the ones that you have already once you start the game. You start with those, so all of those are available to you as the starting outstations, but in the progress of the game, you're going to be acquiring more and more so that you have more options and more flexibility in terms of actions and things to do. Then we have the settlement project cards. We cannot consider Ceres as just another plain source to mine valuable resources. We should consider it as our new home, and we should contribute to terraforming it as such and transforming it. So the various settlement project cards that they come with the docking space shuttles that they bring new opportunities and new ideas and projects together with the trading opportunities. I have these cards and this format specifically. You can see that you have the settlement project name on the top. So this is a solar farms and this is mega station, as you can see. They have on the top left side of the card the settlements project commitment cost. That means commitment you have to do if you don't want to construct it right away once you acquire it by paying the resources needed. You can pay the commitment cost and take it next to you so that you can do it construct it later. There is also the project, the settlement project victory points that you have. For example, this will award 16 points or this will award 12 points once constructed. You have the player count indication. So this is only played on a 2+ player count. The same for this one, but you can have different player counts. For example, this one, just to show you one, it's only played with 4 players, for example. And keep also in mind that the main part of these cards are the resources needed to complete the project. So for example, to make the mega station, I need to give 4 ice and 18 credits. Or to do the solar farms, I need to give 4 or 2 advanced ceramics and 11 credit as well. So this is something that we need to take under consideration once acquiring or trying to get these actions, this project going on. Settlement projects are projects that players can undertake in order to help Ceres thrive, and when a player fulfills a settlement project, he or she gets the victory points written on the card, flips over the card and sets it aside. So once I've done it, I show that I get the victory points once I constructed it, and I flip it face down next to my player area. Now let's see here the corporation boards. Here in the dwarf planet cold corner lies your corporation, where most of the operation takes place. So you have the player aid over here with information as a player aid. You have your corporate headquarters location, which has a spot for numerous action leader token placements. You can do this numerous times, this action. You have your resource track over here, counting with the different respective resource tokens, how much you have of each of the advanced ceramics, ice, ore, and energy. And on top you have your starting outstations, which are the same for all players. The corporation board of each player consists of the resource track, the corporate headquarters location, the player aid, and the starting outstation boards, as I mentioned. The resource track board is where the player arranges his resources, or ice, advanced ceramics, and energy, and it's used to indicate the resource accumulated by the player. And the corporate headquarters location is where the player can perform the corporate headquarters action by placing one of his or her leader tokens here in order to do so. The player aid board features the cost of manufactured products, the alloy that costs 2 ore, and by taking the manufacturing action, and the mining probe, which costs 1 ore, 1 advanced ceramic, and 1 energy in order to manufacture 1 mining probe. The starting outstation board is where the players can activate his or her corporation outstations, and it features 4 upgraded outstations, which are the launch site, the main factory, the main lab, and the main office. And they are already upgraded because, as you can see, each of them have 2 functions. Functions, the top and the bottom one. So the 4 upgraded outstations are the same for every player and provide 4 double functions, 1 top and 1 bottom. So namely, we have the launch side, which is this one, and has on the top to gain 2 ore, and in addition you can pay 1 ice to get 2 additional ore. The bottom function is perform the launch complex action that we're going to explain later. Moving to the main factory. The main factory has a top function where you can gain 1 advanced ceramics. You may also decide to pay 1 ice in order to get 1 more. And the second function, the bottom one, you perform the manufacture a product action up to 2 times, 1, 2, and then you can on top of that pay 1 ice to perform it a 3rd time if you wish to do so. You then have the main lab, which is the red one. You have the top function where you gain 1 energy and you can pay 1 ice to gain 1 more energy if you want to. And the bottom function is you perform the develop research program action as indicated by the icon. Last but not least, we have the main office with the top function, gain 1 influence, and you may also pay 2 credits to gain 1 additional influence. Here's the cost for the additional influence. And the second bottom function, which is to perform the get a favor action respectively. All of these are the starting outstations, and they are always available to the players. And they also make more sense once we explain all the actions following. The game board. As you observe Ceres from afar, from the comfort of your office, you can only imagine the possibilities this planet can provide. You have the Asteroid belt, which is over here, as you have seen. You have the pass order track, which is here. It has actually the top tier is the turn order track, and below it's the pass order track, which is going to become the new turn order for the next round. Here you have a slot where you dock your space shuttle. You're going to have 3 shuttles docking over the course of the 3 rounds of the game. Here around the game board you can see the track with the victory points that you accumulate through the course of the game. You also have a location for the research programs that you can see here. These are the 3 different tiers, the 3 different areas where you can advance either on level 1, then progress level 2 or up to level 3, and you can do this in each of those 3 research programs that we're going to explain later. And you also have the various locations that we're going to explain more, as well as the MAC cancel, which is over here, which you have the Mars cancel. And last but not least, you have, for example, action slots, which have this icon. And here on the bottom, you can see the construction yard with all the facilities to be undertaken. I have decided to place this here. There is no slot for the card. You can put them to the side, but just placing them here so that you can see the back of the cards of the facility deck as well. The game board is where most of the operations of Ceres and some of the Mars are executed, and the game board consists of the asteroid belt, where all the asteroid mining takes place, where you essentially claim asteroids by launching probes from here to here. You have several locations located on either Ceres or on Mars, which provide a plethora of actions to players, and the scoring track, as I've said, that goes around the player board. Now, let's focus here on the asteroid belt. The vast number of asteroids in the asteroid belt are located roughly between the orbits of the planets Jupiter and Mars and are waiting for you to exploit them, but you have to hurry because others have the same idea like you. You have various locations. For example, you have the asteroid belt zone, this is a zone, as you see here. You have the asteroid belt's rotation arrow that you can see here. And in the final production copy, they're all going to show one arrow. I'm going to explain later on how this works, so don't get confused. You have various asteroids that they all have the same iconography, but they vary, first of all, by different names, different victory points that they award, also different resources that they give, and during production as well, continuously. You have the victory points in the stars, following the symbol for the victory points of the game. The asteroid name, this is a single asteroid, or this is a single Didymos, another asteroid, or Iris, etc. And they all make essentially the asteroid belt. Again, keep in mind that this asteroid belt is rotating, following the respective phase where this is happening, but this gives a lot of dynamic in the game, as you'll see, and it's really important and essential to the game and how it works. Really actually clever as well, in my opinion. And it fuels essentially the production of players by all the different mining probes that they will be sending to the different locations, to the different asteroids, in order to make sure that they build up a good income. The asteroid belt comprises of 3 rings: the outer ring, the middle ring, and the inner ring. Each of these rings is divided in 5 zones, the quintiles as they're called. The dashed lines separate the zones of each ring and must always be aligned, so you can never have, for example, this one. The lines should always be aligned. And for starting, during setup, you need to make sure that the arrows are also aligned as part of setup. Okay. Keep in mind that launched mining probes that they come from the launch complex over here, they can go on either this zone or that zone, which is depicted by the extension of the dotted lines from Ceres. So they are located, these are the zones that are closer to the Ceres proximity always, and this is where you launch to, and then you can pay eyes to traverse different zones, as we're going to explain later. But again, despite the fact that this board is going to be rotating, always the 2 zones is 1 and 2. Always next to the proximity of Ceres. Game overview. Ceres is played over 3 rounds, as we have mentioned. Each round starts with the players gaining the production from all of their outstations and claimed asteroids. And during a round, players are taking turns, either by taking a worker to activate an outstation controlled by their corporation, or placing their leader pawn on an action space on a location that they can take a leader. A place worker or a leader pawn gives the player a single action and can also trigger some bonus abilities from completed research programs. Players will further expand their corporation in various ways during the game. They will construct new outstations or upgrade existing ones to gain more actions to choose from, complete various research programs to make their engines more efficient and more robust, and undertake new settlement projects. The presence of the players in the MAAC, Asteroid Mining Assembly of Corporations Council, is also important because it allows them to ask for valuable favors, and this is located on Mars over here. And players' success is measured by the end in victory points that show the corporation's overall strength. Victory points can be gained in several ways: by constructing facilities, launching mine probes to the asteroid belt, developing research programs, fulfilling settlement projects, acquiring credits, and accumulating influence in the MAAC Council. You will be winning a lot of victory points in the course of the game, and you're going to have opportunity to also gain some additional victory points at the end. And at the end of the game, the player whose corporation has the most victory points will be the winner after the third and last round. Game setup. So let's see how we start to set up the game now that you are familiar with all the concepts of Ceres. First, put together the game board, which comes in different pieces, and place it in the center of the table, in reach of all players. Then you shuffle the cargo spacecraft tiles, which are these tiles over here, as I have shown you. You shuffle them and you select, you draw essentially, randomly, one of them and place it on its placeholder next to the docking bay location over here. It is considered to have already been docked, and it will be active cargo spacecraft for the first round. Then randomly you draw two more remaining cargo spacecraft tiles, one by one, placing them to the docking location as seen here. So the second one is going to be this one, and the third one is on top of set. That means that you know which space cargo is going to come in the second round and which is going to come on the third and final round. Those two, the second and the third one, have not yet reached Ceres, but they will come during the subsequent rounds. You return the remaining cargo spacecraft tiles to the game box. Then you place one set of worker pawns, that means one worker pawn of each color, that means one red, one blue, one gray and one green, in the living quarters for every player. So in this case I have one set for the first player, second set for the second player, third and fourth. If I was playing with 3 players, I would have just these. Again, one set, that means one of each colors, one of each specialty, per player playing the game. This is a 4-player setup that you're seeing in front of you. In addition, you separate one set of worker pawns, one of each color. I have already done that. You can use a bag or something else, or put it in the box, in the cover of the box. So again, in this case, it's going to be one more of these sideways, and randomly I'm going to pick up one random worker pawn for every player on each cargo spacecraft tile, and I'm going to return the remaining worker pawns to the game box. That means in a 4-player game there should be 4 workers of random colors embarked on each cargo spacecraft, as you see here. 4, 4, 4 for a 4-player game. For a 3 it would be 3, 3 and 3. The 5th step of setup is to return to the game box all the settlement project cards not corresponding to the number of players. For example, if I was playing a 2-player game, this project card should have been removed because it says only for 4 players. Then you shuffle the remaining settlement project cards and place them in a face-down pile outside the game board, as I have done over here. And following that, you draw as many settlement project cards as the number of players, plus 2, and place them face up on the designated areas below the docking bay location over here. So again, this is a 4-player game, so 4 plus 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that means 6 cards. And there are also reminders here on pre-printed on the board. But remember, 2 more than the number of players for the project cards. Then you place the favor tokens on the designated areas next to the MAAC Council location. You see, I place them here. Keep in mind that the one in the middle, the dark blue one, is pre-printed, so it can be used numerous times, so that's why it doesn't have a token. Then you shuffle all facility cards and place them on a deck outside the main board. And then from there you draw 6 facility cards and place them on the slots the various slots of the construction yard as seen in front of you. If playing with less than 4 players, in order to adjust the game for different player counts, you need to place 4 block tokens on the different locations on the MAC Council, on the construction yard, on the employment bureau, and on the docking bay. Essentially, you need to block spots so the game is balanced for less than 4 players respectively. In a 2-player game, the block tiles should cover 2 action spaces of each location, while in the 3-player game, the tokens should cover 1 action space. Then you place the alloy tokens and the credit tokens in a common reserve, as I have done respectively over there. And the next thing that you do is you move to setting up your corporation. Now, every player selects chooses a color and collects all the following components of their chosen color. You have 4 boards. You have the resource track over here. You have the corporate headquarters location over here, and you have also the player aid over here. They are all color coded, and you can easily see from the orange bits over here and here that they belong to the orange player, for example. Then you take 1 scoring marker and place it on the starting position on 0 around the score track. And you take 3 research markers and place them next to the leftmost side of each row of the 3 fields of research. That means that the orange player places 1 for this track, 1 for the second track, and 1 for the third track of the research programs respectively. You also get 5 leader pawns. I've placed them over here for visibility purposes, but they have nothing to do with the AMC. I'm just showing you over here the bits and pieces of the orange player so that they are easier to see. Each player takes 5 leader pawns. These are these pawns that they go on these spots, the circular ones. Each player has 5 of them and place them next to their corporate board. So they should go, let's say, here. Then these leader pawns represent the actions taken by the player leader on the various locations found on the game board and the corporation board. You also have 12 influence tokens, and place them next to your corporate board again. You're going to be sending those influence tokens on the MAC Council, and you can be spending them to activate actions or gain favor, as we're going to explain later on. But for the moment, I'm just placing them here next to my play area. You also get 1 ice, 1 advanced ceramics, 1 ore, and 1 energy token, and place them all of them on the 0 space to the left of your resource track. So you start with 0 of each of those resources. You get also 12 mining probe tokens and place them near your corporation board. You're going to be manufacturing them, and once manufactured, sending them to the launch complex to show that they're available for launching them in the asteroid belt. Again, I'm placing them to the side. And I just place them here for convenience to show you how they look like. They have this custom shape to show that this is a mining probe. Then randomly determine the first player, starting with the first player and then proceeding clockwise. This player gets their turn order marker and places it on the leftmost space of the turn order track. So in this case, orange is first, second is white, purple is third, and yellow is fourth. And each player, based on their turn order, gets the following starting resources. So the first player is going to get, the orange in this case, 1 resource, 1 alloy, 1 mining probe, 4 credits, and 4 ice. In order to indicate the ice, you're going to use the ice token. So I show that I have 4 ice. I have also 1 alloy that I placed nearby, and 4 credit that I can place on my play raid or my headquarter HQ, and 1 mining probe already manufactured and available. The second player is going to get exactly the same, so all of them are getting 1 alloy and 1 mining probe already manufactured. But the second player gets 5 credits and 4 eyes, the third gets 4 credits and 5 eyes, and the third one, and the fourth one gets 5 credits and 5 eyes to compensate for turn order. So as soon as everyone has received their starting materials, we are ready to proceed. Round overview. Each round consists of 4 phases. First, the asteroid belt rotation phase. Second, the production phase. Third, the action activation phase, where players take turns activating and making actions. And fourth, the end of round phase. So let's see a couple of words for each of the phases respectively. Asteroid belt rotation phase, which is phase number 1. The asteroids change as the orbit of the Sun. The orbital speed is inversely proportional to the distance of the Sun. At the beginning of each round, including the first one, you rotate counterclockwise each of the rings by 1 quintile. As a result, the outer ring will have been rotated 1 time, the middle ring 2 times, and the inner ring 3 times. Always make sure that the dashed lines end up aligned throughout the asteroid belt and the game board, meaning this line, and that line. So the game starts with the arrows here, here, and here at this first extension. So including the first round, I need to rotate this by 1 counterclockwise, then this one more, and this one more. So everything is aligned, and this is how the first asteroid belt rotation phase will finish, meaning that this is how the asteroid belt will look like in order to begin the first round. This is going to happen every time at the asteroid belt rotation phase with the same principle. Okay, so the outer ring once, and then you move on the top once it has all been rotated together from the bottom, and then you move one more, and then you move one more, the third one. But again, this in total, this quintile is going to have moved only 1. This will have moved 2 times, and this will have moved 3 times in a single round during phase 1. Second phase is the production phase. In the beginning of each round, including the first one, simultaneously with the other players, gain the production of all of your outstations and your claimed asteroids. Production is shown in the box to the top right corner of each facility card and next to each asteroid. So for example, specifically for the first round, let me show you. Everyone starts with this starting outstations. So during the first round, the production for each player will be 2 ore from their launch site, 1 advanced ceramics from their main factory, 1 energy from their main lab, and 1 influence from their main office. Following in subsequent rounds, you may have also claimed some through your actions some asteroids by sending probes here. So let's say this was the case. On top of that, the orange player would gain 4 ore and 2 advanced ceramics. But they may also have additional outstations. So if they also had this card as well, they would gain the production 2 more ore for this card as well. Third phase is the action activation phase. During this phase, players take turns following the order determined by the turn order track from the left to the right, starting with the first spot on the very left, and proceeding with the player on the second space, on the turn track, etc. During your turn, you can either activate an outstation by assigning a worker pawn. This is one of the specialized worker pawns that you have, that you take from the living quarters, for example, or the docking shuttle, cargo shuttle. Or activate a location by placing a leader pawn, meaning sending one of your leader pawns to activate one of those locations, or this location, or that location, or that location, or even your headquarters over here. Or the third option is to pass. Once you pass, let's say it was the purple player's turn and they pass, they go here, so they will be first on the next round. because let's say then the white passes, then the orange passes, and then the yellow. That means that this is how the new turn is going to be for the second round. But still we are within the same round, because if you don't pass, you continue going clockwise, according to turn order, taking an action either to you send one of your leader pawns on a location, or to send one of the workers to an outstation. So A, B, C, three options. Let's start by checking one of them at a time. So A, activate an outstation, assign a worker pawn. To activate an outstation, choose a worker among the ones available in the living quarters. So I pick up one from here. Or the cargo spacecraft, which is actually docked, currently docked at the docking bay, but only if this specialization is depleted. So if I don't have any green one, so if I wanted a red one, and I didn't have any red from here, then I can go and pick up one red from the docked specialized workers. But in this case, I'm just selecting one from here because I want a green one. So select one from either your living quarters, or the cargo spacecraft, currently docked. You can also select from the ones coming for the next round, just the one docked, and only if you don't find this specialization here. And then, given the specialization of the worker, pawn, send it to one of your own outstations, either your starting one or the ones that you have acquired, and send it there so that it performs the action. You need to be mindful that you can only take one of the workers available on the cargo spacecraft currently docked in the docking bay if there are no workers of this specialization left in the living quarters. And again, you have to respect the special type that is required. So I cannot send this managing director to perform lab experiments in the red ones. I need to match, so they need to go here. But be mindful, because if I had this outstation, which requires a green one, and have upgraded it with this one through the construction yard action that you'll see, then I can send one here so that he can perform the functions of this upgraded, and you only have to match the primary one, the one on the top, which is always giving the color and the need for the specialized pawn. Okay, so bear that in mind. Either if you have your starting ones are upgraded on the same color, but you don't have to do that with the ones that you buy moving forward and you install moving forward. So very easy. I select one from here, send it, and perform an action here. Okay, it's off screen, but let me show you what I have done here. This is my starting stations. So I have sent the green one here to perform this function, maybe pay to do one more, send an influence cube to the cancel, and then go to do this one to gain a favor. Okay, and I need to match, of course, the colors, because this is how the outstations work. As soon as the worker is placed, the outstation is activated, your outstation essentially is activated, and you immediately utilize its functions. At any given time, an outstation may only have a single worker on it, and also, unless you perform the reassign worker action, the worker remains on the outstation for the remainder of the round. A facilities function must be utilized from left to right, and you cannot place a worker pawn on an outstation if you cannot take the advantage, at least partially, of the function or functions of the outstation. And when placing a worker on an upgraded outstation, you may utilize either or both of the depicted functions. However, if both of them are to be utilized, the function provided by the main facility, top facility function, the top card, has to be completed before proceeding to the function provided by the secondary facility, the bottom facility function card. It is always the type of the main facility, the facility card on top, that determines which worker specialization can activate the outstation, if it has, for example, upgrade of a different color, as I mentioned before. Again, we're going to come back to the different actions, because this is the core of the game, and when we're going to explain all the different actions. But now let's move, for the benefit of instruction of this video, to B, the second option. If I don't use a pawn, I'm activating a location by placing a leader pawn, one of these circular discs. Leader pawns represent the actions taken by your leader on the various locations of the game board or your corporation board. Most of the locations feature action spaces that are activated by a team by a leader pawn, and the number of the available action spaces changes for different player counts. You can place one of your leader pawns on an empty space found in a location in order to activate it and perform the action corresponding to that particular location as stated. You cannot place your leader pawn on an action space if you cannot pay any required action fee, for example in the AMAAC cancel, or if you are not able to at least partially perform any of the actions associated with the action space in question. The actions provided by different locations on the game board are going to be described now, but keep in mind that I'm going to come back with the action symbols at the end because I'm going to wrap it up with anything that is not covered by the circular spots, which is location for the leaders. So first of all, we have the docking bay. The docking bay is where the heart of the series beats, doubling as a trading post and the place to sign a contract for the various projects that will enhance and improve Ceres. Each year a new cargo spacecraft arrives at the Ceres docking bay with lots of workers embarked, looking for employment in one of the corporations running the operations in Ceres. The incoming cargo spacecraft is filled with new opportunities, and a visit at the docking bay gives the opportunity to make a trading deal or either sign a contract for a settlement project, one of the two. The docking bay action provides you with 5 available options to choose from. The first one is the undertake a settlement project action. So if I send my worker here, okay, I can either take one of the projects or perform trading with the cargo shuttle. The other 4 options that they are on the cargo tile itself are trading deals that you can make with the docked cargo spacecraft, and they change depending on the cargo spacecraft tile that has docked each round. The other option is the construction yard over here. So when I send a worker, a leader pawn on this spot, I can utilize the construction yard. When the dust of the erection settles down, you can owe the progression that we have made here in Ceres, constructing so many outstations. During the game, you can construct new facilities to provide you with additional options and actions and give you more flexibility. The construction yard action allows you to construct new facilities to either create new outstations, so place the cards next to your play area and utilize their opportunities, or upgrade existing ones. In either case, you choose one of the 6 facility cards available to the construction yard location, pay its cost, listed on the top left corner of the card. For example, this one needs as a cost 1 ore and 3 advanced ceramics. Okay, and then immediately gain its victory points, listed on the bottom right again of the card. The same card will give me 5 victory points. Take the card and either place it as a new outstation, meaning place it next to your play area, so you have one more option here, or use it to upgrade an existing one that you already have, which I'm going to show you later on. After a construction yard action is performed, immediately draw a new card from the facility card deck and replenish it, so you always have 6 here available. Keep also in mind that this action contributes greatly to the economic growth of the colony of Ceres, so you also gain 1 influence in the council for every alloy you spend for the construction. So in my previous example, I performed the construction of this outstation, so I spent 1 alloy. That means that I'm going to place one of my influence on the AMAC council here. And this is reminded on the top legend of the action spot. If I have constructed this one with 2 alloy, I would place 2 cubes in addition to performing the construction of my outstation. Another option is to send a worker, a leader pawn, to one of these spots. Of course, this is in advanced play, so let's say I'm the first one, or maybe I'm the last one. Doesn't matter, I'm sending it here. So that means I can perform the AMAC cancel leader location action. AMAC cancel is located on Mars, and you must make sure to be well connected if you want to be favored. Visiting the council gives you the opportunity to spend the action fee, one of your influence in the council, in order to perform one of the available actions. So when I send my leader here, I'm going to spend one of my influence cubes and perform one of the options available to me. So I can spend 1 influence to perform the docking bay action, as indicated here. I can either spend 1 influence to perform the launch complex action. I can either spend 1 influence to perform the research program action, or I can spend again 1 influence to perform the favor action. Keep in mind, when you do that, you need to pay additional influence cubes in order to pick up one of the favor tokens. So for example, to pick up this one, which we're going to explain what does at the end of this video, I need to pay on top of the one for performing the AMAC cancel, 3 more, so I cannot do it if I'm the orange one, in order to pick up this favor. But I can do this one, which actually has a requirement of 2 additional ones. So this is how the cancel works. You spend 1 influence to perform the get a favor action, and keep in mind that you need to also pay the additional ones in order to get the favor. Another location is a contractors association. If there is a place where you can find the right person to get the job done, the contractors association is that place without question. Everything comes with price though. The contractors association allows you to perform actions that normally you would not be able to do, but at a cost of an action fee in credits that you have to do. You can choose one of these actions. You spend 2 credits to perform the reassign worker action, which I'm going to explain later on, or 2 credits to perform the construction yard action, even if there is no available action spaces to the construction yard location. It is treated exactly the same way like before. Or spend 1, 2 or 3 credits to perform the manufacture product action 1, 2 or 3 times respectively. Meaning I can spend 3 credits to manufacture 3 mining probes, or 2 mining probes and 1 alloy, for example. Again, the last thing that I can do when my turn comes, if I want to do either of the 2, or or if I'm not able to do it, then I pass. When you pass, when you do not want to activate an outstation or a location, or you're unable to do so, you must pass. If that's the case, you may no longer participate in the current round. You move your turn order marker to the pass order track just beneath the turn order track on the leftmost available empty space, and that's how the turn order is going to be depicted and determined for the next round. So if I pass first here, that means I will be the first one on the next round. And then players play, and then at the future, let's say this player passes, they play, this passes and this passes. That means during the next round, this is going to be the third order respectively. The fourth and last phase of a round, remember we have 3 rounds with 4 phases each. The fourth phase of each round is the end of round phase. At the end of the third round, the game reaches the end, so you skip this phase. If that's not the case, at the end of the first or second round, you perform the end of round phase. At the end of the first 2 rounds, you do these steps. First, you remove the game from the game the cargo spacecraft tile currently docked in the docking bay and return it to the game box. If there are any workers left on top of it, they are also removed and returned to the game box. The cargo spacecraft tile closest to the game board arrives in Ceres, and you place it in its placeholder next to the docking bay location, with new workers coming in and new opportunities, new trades. So that means that this goes as is, and the next one docks. Okay, and this is going to be used, let's say, in the third round. After that, you return all workers from the outstations of the living the living quarters or various outstations of the players to the gaming board, so they go back to the living quarters. So I take my gray, red and green from my outstations and I return them here. Okay, together with any that they may have not been used, for example. Okay, which were already there. Then I return any favor tokens to their designated areas next to the AMAC cancel location. So if someone has used this favor, which is an ability, then they will return it there and they need to acquire it again. Then you discard all remaining settlement projects and facility cards. So you discard all these and draw new, and you discard all these and draw new. Keep in mind, this is replenished in the course of the game. Once you take one, you immediately fill the gap. These project cards are not replenished. If you take one, it stays vacant until this step, which is replenished. Then you move each player's turn order marker from the past turn order to the corresponding position on top. So you have the new turn order, and then you're ready to go on the next round. I'm going to explain some of the symbols, but before doing so, let's see what happens at the end of the game. After the end of the third round, the game ends, and each player adds to their current total 1 victory point for every 2 of their influence tokens beneath their AMAC council. So any of these cubes gives 1 victory point for every 2. So for example, this yellow player is going to take 1 victory point. And also 1 victory point for every 4 credits you have left. So in this case, orange player has 4 credits unspent, they're going to gain 1 more victory point. They also add all the victory points that they have accumulated in the course of the game from their current position of the scoring track, and the player with the highest score is the winner of the game. The player with the most victories is the winner. If there is a tie, the player with the most resources left in their cooperation board, ice, advanced ceramics, or an energy combined, is the winner. And if it's still a tie, unlikely, but if it's still a tie, the player among the players who passed first on the last turn and the last round wins the game. Okay, so now let's do some symbol explanation, some more details about the action symbols so that everything is clear. But you already know everything you need to know about how to play the game. So first of all, we start with the actions and the launch complex action, which is the one with this symbol, as you see here. It's linked with the mining probes that we have here in the launch complex. So launch complex action, you launch 1 mining probe to the asteroid belt, which is over there, of course, and you take 1 mining probe of your color from the launch complex location and then choose one of the available asteroids to claim. Mining probes enter the asteroid belt from one of the 2 zones of the outer rim located in the proximity of Ceres. This is really important, so you can only enter the asteroid belt either from this zone or from that zone initially, then you can move further. The asteroids located in these 2 zones can be claimed as long as they are not yet claimed from other players with no additional cost. However, in order to reach and claim asteroids located further away, more fuels are required and an additional cost in ice needs to be paid first. For every zone and for every ring that you need to traverse in order to reach the asteroid you want to claim, you must pay additionally 1 ice if you traversed a zone 3, a zone meaning another section, another pie, essentially, if you change the zone from this zone to that zone. And you need to pay 3 ice if you traversed middle ring and 6 ice if you traversed inner ring. Note that the Level 2 Aerospace Research Program decreases the cost of traversing rings to 2 ice for middle ring and 3 ice for inner ring. After paying any additional cost required, you place on the chosen asteroid your mining probe and immediately gain the victory points and resources listed next to it. During the production phase, of course, of each subsequent round, you will gain these resources once again through asteroid production, which is on top of any other production your corporation already has. And again, the costs are easily depicted on your player aid. You see you have the dashed line, which is for the zone. Then if you move in the inner ring, you need to pay 3 ice, and if you move to the if you move in the middle ring, you need to pay 3 ice, and if you move into the inner ring, which these dots, the vertical ones, you need to pay 6. And this you can follow on the schematic of the zone. So if you move here or here, there's no additional cost, but then if you want to move past the solid line into here, then you need to pay an additional 3 ice, or if you want to move from there over there, you need to pay 6. And also if you move to other zones, you also need to pay 1 additional ice. So again, the zone is this one, the immediate zone that you can enter, or that one on this pie, this section actually of the pie. It goes without saying, but you cannot take an already placed mining probe of yours from an asteroid to launch it to another unclaimed asteroid. And of course, in order to claim an asteroid, first of all, you need to have available probes already manufactured and pay the extra cost in fuel, ice, in order to travel, and then the destination needs to be vacant, of course. Another action covered by this symbol over here is the Develop Research Program action. Develop 1 research program and you choose any of the 3 rows of available fields of research: aerospace, construction, and logistics, all depicted in a row, in the respective row. And you pay the energy cost printed at the top of the column of the leftmost not yet developed by you research program on that row, and then you move your corresponding research token 1 space to the right. on the research program that you just developed and immediately gain the victory points corresponding to it. Additionally, the research program just developed provides you with an ongoing ability for the rest of the game, and there is a clear explanation for all the additional abilities that you gain. You do not lose the ongoing abilities that you have already developed, so if your research token is, let's say, in L2 space of a field of research, when you perform the corresponding action, you gain the L2 and the L1 ongoing abilities of that particular field of research. Again, this is the aerospace field, and this whole line corresponds to the aerospace field. This line corresponds to the construction field, and this is the icon, and this line corresponds to the logistics field, and it's the same for the whole row. Now, by performing the develop research program action, you may spend energy to develop a research program of any of the available fields of the research aerospace. So the first time you have to get the level 1 for the respective research on the respective program. Then you can, if you are already on L1, for example, you can go to L2. So if you're here, you already have both the L2 and the L1 of the logistics research. And if you are here, you have L1, L2 and L3 of the respective aerospace research program. So this is how this works. So let's see one by one. Aerospace research program level 1, which means this one. Immediately after performing the launch complex action, gain the listed resources of your choice, 2 ore, or 1 advanced ceramics, or 1 energy, or 1 ice. So you gain one of those immediately when you perform the launch action. The L2 level, whenever you perform the launch complex action, the cost of traversing rings, middle ring, inner ring, is in order to reach the asteroid and place a mining probe there, is decreased from 3 to 2 and from 6 to 3 respectively. So it's much cheaper to go further away from your launch zone. Level 3 for the aerospace. Immediately after performing the launch complex action, you may perform an additional launch complex action utilizing only the level 1 aerospace research program. And keep in mind that the ongoing ability of the level 2 research program does not apply to that additional action. So you do one more level 1 launch action. Next we have the construction field. Construction level 1. That means if your research has reached this spot, you unlock level 1 for construction tier. For level 1, you immediately after performing the construction yard action gain the production of the facility that you just constructed, regardless of whether you used it as a main action or as a secondary, as a main facility or as a secondary facility. So immediately you gain the production. The level 2 of the construction tier. Whenever you perform the construction yard action, you gain 1 alloy, which are hard to get. For constructing additional alloys, you really need those. And the level 3 construction tier means that you immediately after performing the construction yard action, you may perform an additional construction yard action utilizing only the level 1 construction research program. And of course, the same applies here. Now, the last is the logistics. Level 1, immediately after performing the docking bay action, gain 1 influence in the AMAC Council. The level 2, whenever you perform the docking action, gain 4 credits, simple. And whenever you perform on the level 3, you immediately, after performing the docking bay action, you may perform an additional docking bay action utilizing only level 1. Another extra one that is. So this is really cool. Next is the get a favor icon, which is this one. So I'm laying the card here so that you can see the action symbol, but it's linked with this section over here. So you get a favor from the council and you choose one of the available favors and pay the indicated amount of influence, and by removing the appropriate number of your own influence tokens from beneath the AMAC council location section, returning them to your corporation board, essentially your stock, and all but one of your favors, the ones that have corresponding favor token on them, can only be taken once each round. At the end of each round, as we have seen, it goes back to its place. If the player gets one of these favors, they claim the corresponding favor token, and no other player may get that favor again during this round. They may win it on another round. The middle favor that is pre-printed on the board can be taken multiple times during a round, even by the same player. and that's why it doesn't have an icon. Whether all the other ones, they have an icon. So if you claim one of these favors for the round, you take the token and you remove it and put it back into its place at the end of the round. Now let's quickly see what these favors do. Each favor grants a player who gets it a special effect, a special ability. So let's start with the manufacturing efficiency, this one. During this round, whenever you perform, meaning that the round that you have acquired this favor, whenever you perform at least one manufactured product action during your turn, you may immediately perform an additional manufactured product action, and additionally all your products cost 1 or less to be manufactured. Okay, and the influence to get this is, of course, you need 3 influence in order to get it. Then the next one is this one, which is the continuous ice supply, and during this round you may ignore the activation cost of facilities requiring ice. Additionally, you have a discount of 1 ice whenever you perform a launch complex action, and again you need 3 influence cubes in order to get it for the round, not for the whole game, just for the round, same like the rest. Then is the Ceres droid. On your turn, instead of assigning a worker pawn or placing a leader pawn, you may place the Ceres droid token on any outstation of yours in order to activate it and utilize its function, even if a worker is already there. That means that you can make some maximum output of one of your outstations. Of course, Ceres droid is not considered a worker. Ceres droid does not prevent you from assigning a worker on the outstation if you had not assigned one this round. And before placing the Ceres droid token, and actions or abilities that refer to workers do not apply to the Ceres droid. For example, reassigning of workers. Ceres droid can only be used once per round, and it costs 3 influence in order to pick it up. Next is this one, which is the leader assistant. On your turn, instead of assigning a worker pawn or placing a leader pawn, you may gain 2 ore, 1 ice, or 1 advanced ceramics, or 1 energy, or 2 credits, or 1 influence, and place the leader assistant token on any location on the game board in order to activate it and perform its action. Even if all its action spaces are already occupied, you can still do it. A leader assistant can only be used once per round, and the cost again to get it is 3 influence cubes. Then the last one is the one that it's already pre-printed, and you can do it multiple times, even the same player. This is a special grant. Immediately choose 4 of your own outstations and gain their facility production, and each outstation can only be chosen once. So this is the cheapest out of those because it has an influence of 2 cubes. But you go all the way up to 4 of your outstations and gain their facility production from these. Next is the docking bay action, which is this icon over here, the one at the bottom. You can also find it here at this location as well. So what does this docking bay action do? Interact with the docked active cargo spacecraft. You choose one of the available options from the currently docked cargo spacecraft. The first one is always the same, and it's the undertake a settlement project action from the ones in the offering. In the 3rd and the 5th action, you can spend credits to gain resources, while in the 2nd and the 4th option, you can sell resources for credits. So here you can buy credits, in this specific one energy or ice cubes, or in this one you can sell advanced ceramics or that sounds well, for additional credits. And it's different each time, a different space cargo docks, of course, it's linked with that. It's important to note that each trading option is a one-way deal, of course. Next is the construct yard action, which is this icon that I'm pointing at the moment. This you can use to construct or upgrade an outstation, a card. A facility card may be used either as a main facility by placing it near your corporation board, separated from the other facility cards, thus creating a new outstation, or as a secondary facility by placing it with its top half covered beneath a card you already own there that does not have any upgrades, so that only the action part is visible from the second card that goes beneath the upgrade, essentially, thus creating an upgraded outstation, which will give you multiple choice to a secondary primary and a secondary facility embedded in one card. An outstation can only be upgraded once, and there are no requirements in terms of matching the type color of the secondary facility with that of the main facility, as we have seen. You can have a top blue card and a bottom green one, or you can have 2 blue ones or 2 green ones. It doesn't matter at all. Another option is the manufacture product action, which has this symbol here. Actually, here you can find it 3 times because the parts factory allows you to do it 3 times. So simply you manufacture one product, and there are 2 types of products that can be manufactured. I remind you, you have alloys that you need to spend 2 ore in order to manufacture one alloy. You need alloy in order to buy stations from the offering. Or you can pay 1 ore, 1 advanced ceramics and 1 energy to manufacture one mining probe that you place on the launch complex so that it's ready to be launched in the asteroid belt. And for that you need to pay again 1 ore, 1 ceramic and 1 energy. The cost of these are here. Here you have the manufacturer icon, and here you have the cost for the alloy and the cost for the mining probe on the respective player color. It's important to know that alloys and mining probes are not limited to the number of tokens included in the game box, so in the rare case that any of those runs out, you may use any other tokens for replacement as needed. Next, we have this icon over here, which is Undertake Settlement Project Action. You choose one of the available face-up projects on the game board and take it in front of you. In order to complete the settlement project, you pay all the resources and credits that are listed in the card and immediately score the victory points that are shown on the card. If you do not have all the resources or credits to complete the settlement project at that time, or you do not want to spend them specifically for this at this time again, you must pay the commitment cost, which is shown on the top left of the card. In that way you commit that you are going to complete it, and at any time you want before the end of the game, during your own turn, at the action activation phase, you may spend the resources and credits listed on the card in order to complete it. It does not require an action to do so. And finally, we have this icon, which is the reassign worker action. Simply you move your workers between your outstations, your own outstations. You move one of your already assigned workers from one of your already activated outstations to another non-activated one in order to activate it and utilize its function or functions. Keep in mind that the worker must, of course, match the specialization requirements as depicted on the main facility. That means if you move it to a red card, it needs to be a red specialized worker, otherwise it will not work. And it gives you the possibility to activate something else on top of what you have done so far with the pool of workers in your possession. Again, I'm referring not to the leader tokens, but to the specialized workers, and that's the symbol matches the icon of the meeple. So there you have it. Now you know everything you need to know for Ceres, the new game from Artipia Games. Keep in mind that there's going to be also a solo with an automa, as mentioned at the beginning of this video. So let's move back up so that I can wrap it up with my final thoughts about the game. Okay, so there you have it. Now you know everything you need to know about Ceres, except from the solo automa, which I didn't have any access to this because it was finalized at the moment of recording this video. So I didn't cover this at all, but you've seen all the aspects of the core game and you get a really good understanding of how the game works. Now, my impressions about the game. I really loved it. I'm a sucker for worker placement games with different types of worker, with a bit of twist, something new into the mix. So this game has all of these aspects, and I think they're really expressed and developed really well. So first of all, let's start with the obvious, the different worker pool. So you have your own leader tokens, which you can send on various locations on the board, on Ceres base, on Ceres settlement, and either gain more cards, which essentially are the outstations as the game refers to them. You can send it in order to gain project cards so that you can get some easy victory points if you develop these special projects like satellites or solar farms for improving the Ceres settlement and making it thrive. Or you can send it to different spaces, like for example the council, so that you can influence the Mars council, so that you can put influence there and have access to the favor tokens, and also being able to spend in the future to have influence to spend it once you send it there, so that you can do additional actions, maybe actions that were you couldn't access them anymore or whatever, and then you can do them out of turn, with the exception since you have now the influence. So all these things are really good, but so far we have seen it in many games, having different types of workers and having common pool of workers, and maybe we haven't seen the combination of those so far, but We have seen it in other games. So why am I excited about Ceres? That's what I'm trying to say. I'm excited about Ceres because this part of the worker placement is really, really cool and works well. And if it goes on its own, it would have been one nice aspect, one good game among many, and easily it could have been missed out of all these good games coming out, every year and more nowadays. But this game has something on top of that. Besides the worker placement, which works really, really well, it has the asteroid belt, and the asteroid belt is amazing because essentially it's your income. You're building your income, and instead of doing an engine building like, I don't know, a tableau building with cards that you have abilities and you place cards and then you boost your income, and throughout the course of the game you reach a point where you have really good income, and then you feel okay to go and do more with what the game provides you. It does it in a dynamic way, and the way it's really dynamic because first of all it's extremely thematic. It's three rotating rings that work as they should. The ones closer to the sun move faster than the ones further from the sun. So the three rings really work thematically as they should work. And I hear that they got advice from an astrophysicist. So they nailed this. They got this right in terms of scientific, at least justification or value, what makes sense. But from my point of view, what really is important is the dynamic of the asteroid belt, because having access to the various aspect parts, the various zones of the asteroid belt and the various possibilities you have there, it gives you not only victory points, which you get once you send a mining probe there, but you have also income. And the income is not only for the time you send it there, but it's also for all upcoming rounds, because you're going to take it again and again during the production, which is the second phase of the game, the production phase. So this is really, really well done. I think it gives a lot of dynamic into the gameplay, a lot of replayability, a lot of opportunities, because you cannot simply send something. You're not sending your worker to the asteroid belt. You need to first manufacture probes, mining probes, by spending resources. So you need to collect them first and then have a pool of mining probes, and then take the correct decision when you have the right timing to send it, taking the action, of course, either through your outposts or your bonus actions or whatever, and then send it to increase your income. And this brings me to the third aspect of the game, why I loved Ceres so far, is the flexibility on the actions. I haven't seen this in many games, at least not so clearly expressed in my opinion. You have so many possibilities and freedom and flexibility, I would say, not possibilities, flexibility, because the way you build your outstation with the cards and you upgrade them, you essentially provide a vast majority of options for you. So you have the actions that they are the common actions that I have described in the game, but you may have them on various cards. You may have them on the board itself, you may have them as bonus actions on your outstations, and you may have them as, I don't know, additional actions that you can get from the cancel as well. So all these things together give you a huge, I would say, arsenal of what you need to do. But in order to activate it, you need to have the correct worker at the correct time and do the correct thing according to your plan and your strategy, so that it all rolls out and gives you this satisfying feeling that the best Euro games do, that you have completed something, that you have managed something sufficiently, that you have made something work, and thus you see the result of what you have done. I'm really, really impressed from the game. I'm highly, highly recommending it. I think anyone who loves worker placement should definitely check it out. If you're not a big fan of the sci-fi theme, don't overlook it, because I'm a sucker for sci-fi thing, but for sci-fi theme. But I think the novelty in this game and all the cool new concepts that they have embedded into the design and the way it's developed, this is really important to say also, the way they developed it. I think they will make even the people that they don't like sci-fi theme board games to really gravitate towards, and I use gravitate, it's a thematic word I chose, towards the game from its design point of view. If you love sci-fi theme, you don't have to look anymore. I think this is one of the best new modern Euro games out there that utilizes fresh ideas, novelty aspects from the implementation of the asteroid belt and the selection of all these options from your actions and the common worker pool, that you rush with your competing with your friends around the table, who gets which worker, special worker first, you know, the scientist, the manager, or the, I don't know, the engineering, etc., and match it with their own mini tableau building for in front of them where they have their art stations. So extremely satisfied, highly recommended, a brilliant design, very novel as well, very innovative I would say, and highly satisfying. I'm only jealous that I didn't get a chance to try the solo Toma because it wasn't ready before passing this prototype. So I'm going to put a link into the description below, so check it out, don't miss it. This is I think one of the games that they're going to be discussed for many years, and for a good reason. This is Ceres.